what's going on? Welcome to the first ever live stream Q&A here, Hollywood Editing Mentor. It's the first time we're doing this. Thanks for being here. I'm so excited to have you all here. Can't wait to have all your questions and get them answered by a good friend, Garret Donnelly. Thanks again for all your support. I think it's the first time we meet. My name is Joaquin Elizondo. I am the creator of Hollywood Editing Mentor. You can find it at hollywoodeditingmentor.com. And thank you for first of all, if you fill out my survey, thank you very much. I appreciate you. You are a big reason for this getting done. I'm excited to get this going, and you can find out more at hollywoodeditingmentor.com. I know I haven't officially done like a launch, but I am talking to people right now. I am meeting with people. You can go on the website, book a session, and we can talk about it. And then I'm taking mentees on right now, but I'll probably officially launch it like within a couple of weeks, and I'll do another live Q&A to kind of give you details and answer any questions you might have. I'm glad everyone's here. People are showing up. Haley, what's up? Jacobo, Ben, Cuddy Mac TV in the house. Noel, Jorge Lopez, George Lopez. Good to see everyone here. Let's see. We're gonna. Excuse you. It's the first time I'm doing this, so please, if we have any hiccups or anything, let me know how everything's sounding. I apologize right now if we have any hiccups, and let me know how the levels are. We're gonna try this out. We're trying out this new system. There it is. Good old Haley. Jacobo, what's up? Speaking with courage. Beto says loud and clear over here in San Diego. That's awesome. Julia, mucho gusto. Glad you're here. My boy George Lopez just talked the other day. Can't wait to work with you. Noel, hi to you too. All right. Well, I wanna get to our guest, because I want to be respectful of his time, your time, and I want people's questions to get answered. So my first guest on this first ever live stream Q&A for Hollywood Editing Mentor is none other than my good friend, Garret Donnelly. He's worked on shows such as Narcos Mexico, NOS4A2, 24 Legacy, Homeland. He's done some cool shows, and he's an awesome person to work with. I like to say he's everyone's favorite editor. So without further ado, here is my good friend editor, Garret Donnelly. What's up, Garret?
Hey,
you are
everybody.
live here on Hollywood Editing Mentor. What is going on, my friend? How are you doing, man? You staying cool out there?
Trying to, as much as we can be. Got this heat wave.
Yeah. But you have a pool, so that's all good.
That's nice. Yeah, nice to take. I can't complain too much. Yeah.
Awesome,
but
man.
Thanks for inviting me to do this. I'm looking forward to. Hopefully, we can answer some questions for everybody, and yeah, it's a good experience.
Yeah, man. I wanted to do this because I want to help out people. I want to hear have people hear from someone as experienced as you, who has had a very successful career in Hollywood as an editor. You started off young, and you got a lot of opportunities early on. I'm sure you had a lot of mentors as well. I had a lot of people help you. You certainly helped me. I was your assistant. I was lucky enough to get an opportunity to co-edit an episode with you, and then you were instrumental in helping me out to get bumped up to editor. And I know you've helped out a lot of assistants as well along your career. So I want to talk about that today. What can people do? What can assistants do to build a better relationship with their editor? And also, how can they pitch themselves for a co-edit? Because that's the first thing, right? People want to go automatically and be an editor, but I think the first important step is to get that co-edit. It's so important, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's the first step into getting a full-blown, full credit editing. So, yeah, no, I'm excited. I'm glad it's worked out for you, and I hope that this can help a lot of other people out there looking for that bump.
For sure, man. Yeah. So first of all, let's start off. Just tell us quickly, like a little bit about yourself, where you're from, how'd you get started in all this, and yeah, I want to hear more about you, get to know you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I grew up in Kansas and moved to LA when I was 20. I actually got really lucky. I was planning to do film school, and when I moved out here, it was probably about a month before my brother's friend was moving from New York to LA, and he was a post-producer on a show, and he was looking for a post-PA. So my brother put me in touch. I interviewed with him, and I got super lucky, landed on the show, Medium, and it lasted 7 seasons. And Larry Tang, he was the post-producer, and he really kind of took me under his wing and showed me a lot of the ropes of post. And yeah, I always found myself hanging out with the assistant editors and editors, and yeah, that's where I ended up finding my path. I wanted to be an editor, so was able to move up to assistant, and yeah, it was really good. Good experience.
Nice, man. And talk about your times as an assistant. I mean, I'm sure you probably had mentors and a lot of people help you out. What was that process like to kind of eventually then become an editor?
Yeah, for sure. I think it is an important aspect to really get along with an editor or find an editor that you can connect with, and they can really open up and kind of open their door to you to hang out and see the whole process, whether it's just cutting scenes, doing dailies, or doing a cut with a producer or director. All that stuff is vital information and experience if you're in the room and wanting to make that jump, because you just want to be prepared for it. But I think the most important factor is just being a very good assistant. You know, it's like you got to focus on doing the picture turnovers, visual effects turnovers, mastering that stuff first. And then, I always say to probably focus on like 1 or 2 things, whether it's temping visual effects or temping music, that can kind of set you apart from another assistant that's really good. It's like, oh, well, this guy's really good with music. There's been times where, showrunner has asked, oh, can you come in and cut in a new music cue, or go in the other room and work on finding a new music cue for some scene or sequence. And yeah, I mean, that kind of stuff, when you're getting that one-on-one time, or people just knowing your name is important for when an opportunity comes to actually edit.
For sure, man. No, I hear you. I just want to say, everyone, get your questions ready. We're going to open this up to questions later on, so you can ask Garret if you want some advice, want to know more about Garret. Hit us up with your questions there in the chat box. We'll be doing that later on in the session. Garret, I want to, I think, I got to say, a lot of people, do assistants focus a lot on, obviously being a good technical assistant, like, doing your turnovers, like you said, sound design, all that is great. But I think we also need to kind of, focus a lot on the code skills, right? Or, these things are like building a relationship with the editor, communication. We'll talk about a little bit about those things, and building that relationship, that trust. How can assistants why is it important for assistants to build that trust with their editor and just have a good communication and things like that?
Yeah, and a big thing too is personality fits. If you have somebody you get along with really well, like you and I, we've become great friends, so it made it very easy and very comfortable early. But yeah, things you can do is show initiative. Like, one of the things that you and Rob would always do is whenever music supervisor would send some cues to maybe temp in, you'd already have them imported in before I really even asked. So that was always like something that was really nice. And so then it would be like, hey, dude, why don't you come in and we'll cut in a few and talk about which ones we like and which ones we think it's better, or, so it becomes more of a collaboration. So if you can take initiative and maybe get that stuff done early, then it opens the door up more to spend time together and build that relationship. And then, yeah, when we're hanging out in the room, it's like the showrunner might show up, and then it's like, hey, yeah, just hang out, stay in here with us. And listen to what he has to say. It's a good experience, I think, for an assistant just to be on top of things.
Of course. Yeah, well, I mean, like, because we all know, like, this job. I mean, we're working long hours together. We are, working directly with each other. We want to have someone. First of all, I think that we can get along with, right? I mean, like, that it's like we're gonna do this. This is a team effort. We're gonna be here, long hours. Like I said, we got to get along, exactly. Right?
Yeah, one of those situations where, because there are those days where you're like, we got a deadline we got to hit. And we're probably going to be here till 10, 11, even later on some shows, depending on the situation. And you want it to be with somebody that you can trust and get along with. And also somebody who has a good attitude. I think the attitude and effort are the most important things, It's like, and for me, it's also like that feeling of accomplishment when we get through those times, locking picture and stuff. I want the assistant to care just as much as I do about doing the best job we can and presenting the best episode or best film. No.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, it's like I said, this is a team effort. So we all have the same end goal, right? So we need to help each other out.
Yeah, and it's even better for me when you or somebody else comes in the room and can watch scenes with me and then give me your feedback, because that's even more welcome. You're just as important as a viewer, So it's like your point of view might, that was a good idea. Maybe this music needs to start a little later, or maybe it would be nice to see. Like Felix or something in a close-up here. So, I think the collaboration is very important, and that's why when meeting with assistants, I always try to, I'll ask like technical questions to make sure that they, can do turnovers and that kind of stuff. But more importantly, it's like, what's your taste? What shows do you like? What movies do you like? To see if we're kind of fit. I mean, I'm kind of eclectic when it comes to that stuff, but it's just good to see the enthusiasm, how much enthusiasm they really have for it. But yeah, it's hard work, long hours.
Yeah, no doubt. We both know that. Let's talk about a little bit about that, like that communication. I talk to assistants, and one of the things that they bring up is this. I don't know if it's nervousness, that they're sometimes afraid to speak up, even when they ask them for an opinion, say, on a scene. Because I know, like, for example, you would bring me in constantly to watch scenes, and we would have discussions about it, and I would learn a lot. You would probably look at something from a different perspective. I mean, we just helped each other out. But some people have a hard time with that. Like, some people, it's like they just don't know how to approach the editor. Sometimes I don't know if it's maybe the fact that they might think they might say something wrong.
I think they
overthink it, overanalyze things.
For sure, but I would do that stuff when I was starting out. It's like, wait a minute, this guy's an Emmy award-winning editor, and he's asking for my opinion? I think what you're doing is great.
Of course, yeah.
But the value, why they bring you in, it's not to say, great work, I love it. It's to say, hey, what's not working for you? So that I don't look like an asshole when the director comes in and says, this isn't working at all.
Exactly.
So I think you need to look at it as it's helpful for the editor just as much as it's helpful for you. To go in and give a clear point of view. And it might be a situation where it's like, hey, I think it'd be cool if you did this. And the editor's like, oh, you know what? I don't want to do it that way. I thought about it because of these reasons, And then it's like, oh, okay, yeah, you already went down that path. So maybe it's something else in this section that's not working. Maybe we're missing whatever a close-up or somebody else's point of view of the scene. So, I think it's really important that when you're asked to speak up, to not be afraid. There's no wrong answer. If every time I got a no, it was a wrong answer, or it was where I lost touch with the producer or whatever, I would lose my job in an instant, because you're always getting those. You have to take criticism. So you might as well, as an assistant, bring it up now in the room before it's with somebody else, and you miss the boat.
Right. I think it's also good to from the get-go, right? From when you, maybe even when you interview or before the first day of dailies, to have conversation, right? To be open about what your needs are, both as an editor and as an assistant. I was always told, not just I can't assume that every assistant wants to cut, right? I need to put myself out there and say, hey, I want to be an editor, and I will welcome, any help, any advice, but I just want you to know that that's my end goal. I'm going to do my assistant work. I'm going to help you. I'm going to be your assistant, but I want you to know that I want to be in that chair just like you someday.
Right. Yeah, and I think that that's something, even like if we're interviewing or whatever, it's good to bring it up. It's like, yeah, I want to be an editor. I actually even asked, do you want to be an editor? And they're like, yeah. It's like, okay, are you interested in cutting scenes? Yeah, if they're interested in cutting scenes, we'll start out early on. Like, here, try this scene. Fairly simple coverage, and see if aesthetically, it's cohesive with my style. And here's the reasons why it isn't, or it is. So yeah, I think it's important to be upfront with that stuff. Because that's the only way you're going to get helped out to actually move on.
Absolutely. Once again, guys, thanks for tuning in. I'm here with editor Garret Donnelly. We're talking about the relationship between an assistant and an editor, how to build a better relationship, and how you can get an opportunity or some advice to get an opportunity to co-edit an episode, which we'll get to shortly. We're going to be taking questions in a bit, so type in your question on the chat box, and we'll get to that in a little bit. Cool, man. So far, so good. Yeah, I mean, oops, I bumped into this. I need to find a better spot for this mic. I'm always hitting it. How also, like, when you I know you bring assistants in to, when you're doing your session with the producers, the producers, writers, showrunner, and, you bring in the assistant sit in there. What are you looking for when you have an assistant in those type of sessions, and what are some things to do and not do, I guess, when you're in that situation?
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess first, like, to not do is to be on your phone and not paying attention. Be ready when you're asked a question to answer it. You would think that's kind of like common sense, right? But you would think so, but sometimes it happens. But yeah, no, I think it's an important aspect of it to, as an assistant, if you really want to be an editor, you got to sit in the room and see how that is, how the editor runs the room, and you can take things that you like, how techniques that they use to communicate with the producer, and you can even take notes on that, like things that you like and you want to try and work on. So yeah, and also, yeah, just be ready to answer questions, because you're brought in there to give an opinion, and when you're asked, you want to hear it, not be like, oh, can you go back? I was taking a note on something else.
No, exactly.
Because again, it's a long process, as you know. It's like some scenes you'll be in it for a couple hours.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, we have Beto here saying the phone is the biggest distraction of our generation.
No,
I mean, I would agree with that, right?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's one of the where I just set it aside.
Just don't even bring it. You don't need it.
Do not disturb, and set it over whenever a producer or somebody's in the room.
What's the, like, some advice? I guess when when asked for that question, right? What do you think? I mean, you have to also be find the right balance, right? I mean, you have to be aware of what you're saying, especially with like a showrunner.
Yeah,
a showrunner.
You don't want to give an opinion at a time when we're in a rhythm with something. Be like, hey, you know what? There was something back there that I forgot that really bothered me.
Yeah.
Because then it can be counterproductive. But what was your experience like when you were sitting in the room as an assistant?
Oh, I mean, you put me in the hot spot, the hot seat. No,
your perspective.
Yeah.
When you and like.
Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely. Like, I first of all, I really appreciate the fact that you would bring me in there constantly. I mean, and I anytime they were, any of the writers or showrunners, anyone was in there, I was just looking for that opportunity, right, to go in there, because you learn a lot. You're seeing now, you're just sitting back there in the little corner, and seeing how, firsthand experience into how like everything works out. What's that?
You weren't in a little corner. It was a pretty big room.
Okay, yes. And Santa Monica was, that was you had a nice cushy office. Yeah, I had my own little, whatever, armchair, yes. No, but you know what? First of all, you're right. I mean, the phone, put it away. Pay attention. I mean, pay attention to what is going on. I paid attention to like what is going on, in the cut. Also watching who's in there, see how they're reacting. Because the thing is, like you're busy running the system, right? And you're also you're getting notes. I mean, you're not gonna catch everything probably, right? Because it's hard. And so someone to I was always kind of listening and taking down my own set of notes, just in case. I mean, you were very good at keeping track of everything, but just in case.
Yeah, a lot of those we were doing the notes in the room, so it's not as essential. But yeah, no, it is important. Bring a notepad in there and take notes. Yeah, because it is where sometimes I'd be like, hey, what was the ADR line exactly?
Exactly. No, man, and I even think just the fact that you have a notepad in your hands. Like, I don't care if you're not even going to use it, but I mean, honestly, like the fact that you have it.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? You're like, okay, this guy is prepared. He's going to write, it just makes you look legit.
Yeah, that's a good thing, yeah.
I mean, yeah.
I wouldn't have thought of it.
I mean, I encourage everyone, obviously, to use a notepad, but I'm just saying, little tricks in here, tricks of the trade. But no, yeah, I mean, I just remember like always, just being, paying attention and having your back, in the sense that if something, you didn't listen to something that I caught it. And also, I would get, showrunner would look over and say, what do you think? And then, so make sure that first of all, that I was paying attention and that I can respond to whatever he or she is talking about.
Yeah.
And so not being, also just being distracted and not, looking around. I mean, like, you got to pay attention and not say anything. Just, I got to admit, also staying kind of in the corner a little bit quiet, not making silly jokes, right? I mean, just,
But then after a little bit, you get more comfortable. The
exactly.
more you do that. Right. It also is actually, it made me think of another reason. It's an advantage kind of for me when I have a challenging note in front of me, and I know it's going to take like 10 or 15 minutes, but I got the producer sitting back there hanging out. You can engage in conversation with him and distract him for a little bit, and that helps me kind of get ahead on that note. So he doesn't sit there and say, "What is taking so long?"
No, that's a very good point.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't think of it that way, but yeah, you're right. It's also that idea to kind of keep them entertained, right?
Yeah.
Be able to have being able to, I think reading the room is very important, and to say right now, you know what, I should. Right now is a good time to start a conversation. It's pretty quiet in here.
Yeah, when they're not looking at their phone.
Well, yeah, that's another. But that's different. That's different.
And it's actually been like more helpful now, I guess, with them having their phones.
Yeah, totally. Wow, how's the heat over there? It's getting pretty hot in here. Toasty. All right, we'll hurry this up. We're getting a lot of good questions. We're gonna get to that. We're gonna definitely want to leave time for that because that's the purpose of this is to people to get advice, to get their questions answered, to get as much help as possible. So we want to make sure we do that. I want to talk a little bit, just because I know people. I know and I think I said cold skills earlier. Soft skills. Sorry, my bad. It's. I'm thinking about sending cold emails. That's why I had that conversation earlier this week.
That is an important thing, though.
Yeah, no, the soft
Emails out.
Yeah, that's it. We'll do another episode completely about that. There's an art. There's an art to it. But soft skills are very important. I push that a lot, obviously, in this Hollywood Editing Mentor program. But obviously, the technical stuff, we can't ignore that, right? I mean, that's essential to to our job, and we have to do a good job. But I think I tell people, like, it's okay, and I want to hear your thoughts on this. It's like, it's okay, I think, to not be the absolute best assistant technically. I mean, you have to know what you're doing. You don't want to hold the production back and the process back, obviously. Yeah. But I think it's like, you bringing in a good attitude. I think people will probably be more, people will help you out regardless, right? I mean, you better learn quick, right? But I mean, they'll give you a chance.
Yeah, for sure. I think, like I said, effort and attitude is the most important things to me. It's like, if somebody has a great attitude and is positive, like, oh, maybe it does take a little longer to do some technical aspect, but as long as it's getting done, then it doesn't bother me. Right. And I think the same for the post producers. They'd rather have a good attitude, because those long days, you want it to be with people who are your friends.
Right. Absolutely.
You don't be the ace of assistant editors technically.
But though, like, what do you like to see from a how important, for example, is like sound design? Obviously, a part of the assistant editor, a big part of his work is doing sound. Yeah.
It's important to lay down the groundwork for sound, because I know that's something that you don't want to fall behind on and have to deliver an episode and turn over sound effects, and it sounds like canned birds or something.
Okay, we don't. I will never. I think I will ever use canned birds ever again.
No, we will not.
Traumatized.
But it's just one of those where I think it is important to polish sound design. A lot of people expect it. I wouldn't spend forever on it. Just lay the groundwork, and then together we can keep enhancing it. What would be good is like taking the initiative after an editor finishes a scene. It's like, hey, do you mind if I just do a sound pass of this? Like, no, go ahead. So you can do those little cues of phone ringing, little background, just to even it out. So then the next time we watch the scene together, we can find the things that can be improved on as far as the editing, and not worry as much about sound or whatever. It just saves time if you do a good job. I know when I was first starting out, the showrunner we worked for, he wanted it to sound like it was mixed. So that was like, we went through and we would mix the dialogue tracks and sound effects, all that stuff. It's time consuming, but you start to learn how to do it a little quicker. Like, one of the things I always have is a speed bin of sound effects. It's like, oh, these are the common sound effects I always use. Let me toss those in. It's like easier to assemble that way. And I think that's a tip for assistants to maybe save a little time instead of always searching. It's like, where the good sounding gun shots or the good phone ring is. So you can just go to that speed bin, grab it, and toss it in the cut.
Awesome.
But I think it's an important aspect to have good sound design, at least to laying the groundwork. So an editor's not there late trying to enhance it or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, we're all in the same boat, right? We want to get home to our families. We want to, whatever. I mean, we obviously do a good job, do our job well, but we don't want to stay there late.
No. Yeah.
Cool, man. I wanna get into the aspect of the co-edit. That's a big question. A lot of people ask me that. I mean, I've had assistants come up to me and say, "Hey, how did you do it?" And from my experience, I mean, what I tell people is, like, I gotta say, in the two times that I did it, one with you, one with Monty the Graph, who we'll have here as a guest in the coming weeks, and Monty well, awesome guy. Yeah. I never asked for it. I never was, pushy. I think obviously you knew that I wanted to edit. I think I had done a co-edit. You knew that. You came to me and said, I think when you wanted, say, man, why don't you join me for Narcos Mexico season 2? Like, it'd be great. We'll do a co-edit. It's gonna be awesome. I mean, it was like, okay, cool, Garret, awesome. Yeah. I mean, that's a big step. Talk a little bit about that step of achieving that first co-edit. What are some initial things that one can do to get to that point where, because I think it's about trust, right? One has to see, one has to see that you obviously know how to cut,
right?
But people can trust you and people will guide you. You don't have to be the best editor.
No, for sure. I mean, actually, one thing I remember, like Jordan Goldman always telling me was like, your first cut doesn't have to be perfect. You're figuring it out, and it's going to change probably 10 or 15 times before you send it out to anyone. So don't worry about it being perfect. But as far as like achieving the co-edit, I think, like you said, it comes when you don't expect it. You can try to hope that you sign some lucrative deal to do a co-edit the next season, but that rarely happens. Most of the time it's a circumstance. Like my first co-edit, I was really lucky. I was on Ray Donovan season 2, and Peter Ellis, I was working with him on the first block, and then Sydney was coming on to be the third editor, but he got busy on a pilot. That got delayed a couple weeks, and so they asked Peter and I, and Katie O'Hara, our post-producer, championed it, so that was amazing of her. They asked Peter and I to do that third episode. So that was my first co-edit, and it was great. It was just, I wasn't expecting it. I always try to say as an assistant, just enjoy being an assistant first. Enjoy sitting on the couch and just hanging back and watching things happen instead of standing up or sitting in that chair in front of everybody being told what to do. You just want to enjoy being an assistant, and also that stuff helps you prepare when the time comes, because it usually comes out of nowhere, and when it does, you want to be prepared. You want to be ready for it. I mean, you'll still be nervous.
No, of course. Well, that's a big thing, right? It's being prepared. Like, I think in general, I mean, I've had these discussions as well. It's like, being prepared for that opportunity, right? When it comes to you, because it'll come out of nowhere. So what do? I mean, you probably go do side projects, cut, practice, maybe under your downtime,
sure.
Practice somehow, because that moment when it happens, you gotta be like, yeah, let's do it. I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
Cause I've seen also where assistants wanna cut, and then they're given that opportunity, and then it's either they freeze up, or obviously it's the nervousness that hits them, or they're like, no, man, well, I got all this sound design and this and that to do. It's like, man, you're getting an opportunity to cut.
Yeah, no, it's one of those things where, hey, for me, this is my own personal thing. It's like, if somebody asked me to cut a scene, it's like, okay, I'm going to cut that scene, and I'm going to work however long extra I need to cut that scene and get my daily tasks done. Because on top of it, if a co-edit happens, most of the time you'll probably have to get a little help from another assistant editor, but you're still going to be doing a lot of the sound, music work yourself, tipping visual effects. So you want to be prepared to get all that stuff done as well, on top of cutting.
No, yeah, absolutely. I think also one thing that I've, these are all, honestly, I have a lot of, I'm not making stuff up. Like, this is stuff that I've come across. This sense of going back to saying, it'll come out of nowhere. Like the idea of eagerness, right? Because it's like, it's a fine balance, right? You have to obviously tell people that you
let them know that you want to be an editor, and so people can start helping you out to achieve that.
But you can't be also,
don't want to overstep.
Yeah.
It's like, I wouldn't want people to come and like take a scene and start cutting it without my knowledge, and then being like, "Hey, Garret, I cut this scene for you." It's like, "Oh, thanks." You know,
that's really,
huh? I'm more than happy if somebody comes in and says, "Hey, do you care if I take a stab at a scene?" It's like, "No, go ahead. Choose whichever one you want."
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, you can be overly eager, and I've seen that happen with a couple people. So like, the first approach for a co-edit, I think, is to make sure the editor's on board. You know, you got to communicate it with the editor that this is what you want to do, and that'll answer your question. I had a situation where I asked an editor if I could do a co-edit with him on the next season, and he was like, "You know what? I don't know. I'm more of the old-fashioned where co-edits happen because, you know, someone's not available and we both take on something. I don't want to just give up a credit." And that's totally fine, you know, but you have that conversation. And then, you know, once the editor is on board, if somebody is, then you go to the post-producer. And then if they're on board, it goes to the showrunner and other producers, and then the studio and network. So there is some hoops to jump through. But once you get there, you know, it's pretty cool. It works out, you know, like for you.
Absolutely. I mean, do you I mean, going back to kind of, I guess, the whole idea of or the amount of experience with editing one has, like, do you want to see an assistant's editing work first, or some sense of it before you consider a co-edit? Or is that not a factor?
I don't know. It depends. Like, do I have a relationship with the person? So if it's like the person A and B, and one has a reel to show me, and I've never met, like, I'm just choosing based on reels.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's just, I mean, like, if you're with an assistant and you've never seen, you know, any editing work.
Yeah.
Right, but he's awesome, he or she is awesome, and is hungry, and you know, kind of, you guys build a trusting relationship. I mean, are you willing to say, like, "Hey, man, you give it a shot"?
Yeah. No, I mean, typically though, I'll probably have already like asked them to cut scenes just to see how they do with scenes. You know, make sure aesthetically it's similar. Because you don't want it to be where you have a co-edit and it's actually more work to then go like, "Oh, this isn't going to work out." Right. But luckily, you know, it's like you kind of just have to build that trust beforehand. I don't think you can like guarantee a co-edit before even like meeting them. You know what I mean?
Right, and it's also good to point out that the co-edit, it's a process, right? I mean, that thing just doesn't happen. It's not like, "Hey, you know, you're gonna get a co-edit." I mean, there's politics involved, and I mean, so many situations.
Everybody has to be comfortable with it, because on top of it, I wouldn't want to put an assistant in that position where they're getting a co-edit with people having hesitation about it. You know, because then it's just probably not going to end well, no matter what. Yeah. They just don't view you that way for whatever reason. So yeah, it is a process where, yeah, like I said, you got to go through the editor, then the post-producer, then the showrunner, and then studio or whatever, you know, most of the time.
Right. Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, we both know. I mean, it's a process, and you just hope that things line up, right?
Yeah, I mean, they will. Mm-hmm. They, no matter what, as long as you're like working hard and you know, taking initiative, having a good attitude, there's a lot of projects out there, which opens up the door for those opportunities. You know, so that's what I guess is exciting about this time where we have so much content. Yeah, the door will open at some point as long as you grind it out. I mean, there's times where I was like, "Man, I'm ready to cut," but the opportunity always seems so close, but it's not there.
Yeah, right.
So then I was always just like, "Oh, okay, enjoy this process. Enjoy learning from this person." Okay, well, now I want to try a different genre. I might as well try and learn as much as I can, because you get little things out of every project, no matter what. You know, if it's something that you're not really into, you kind of learn like, "Oh, you know what, maybe I want to do comedy, or maybe I want to do action or something, but then you learn something out of each thing, which I think is important. So you kind of just be open to whatever happens and kind of go with the flow, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, our situation was pretty cool because it just like lined up. It was like, yeah, man, I hope we can get a co-edit. And, with Tim, he was awesome about actually giving us that opportunity when the schedule shifted. And instead of doing 2 episodes in one block, we were doing the 1 episode in one block. So then it was like, hey, here's a guaranteed reason why I need help. So
right.
It was a lot easier to negotiate that kind of co-edit.
Yeah, I mean, it's I mean, that's very fortunate to like for that situation to arise, and also, but then having such a supportive editor like you, because I also tell I think it's important to note that sometimes, I mean, I get it that we all have to work. It depends if especially if we're just starting out, we need to work, we need to get credits, but I think there has to be exactly right. And so I think that though, there's also I think it's also good, and this is what I've been told as well, like to as an assistant to also, when you're in the interview, to interview the editor as well, in the sense of what are your do you believe in co-edits? Do you you kind of mentioned it earlier in this conversation, but it's like I think it's worth also to saying, hey, like if this is someone that does not, and that they're not a bad person, it's just simply that's just the way they are, right? They don't like handing off scenes, they don't do co-edits. I mean, that's just what it is, and we have to kind of decide, well, do I want to then spend the next 6 months on this gig and it is what it is, or do I go out there and find that opportunity, right? I mean, it's got to make decisions sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that is important, is just personalities. It's like sometimes you don't just match, and so it can be a little harder, so that makes it probably a little harder to get a co-edit, to work with that person, have them vouch for you. But then, you have situations where it's like, yeah, we get along great. Like I was on a show and my assistant came on, and early on, she was like, she had gotten a couple co-edits already. And I was like, you know what? I think in this show, I have a great relationship with the post-producer, and the showrunner is awesome, and we're building a relationship. I think I can bring you on and probably get you promoted. And it was a situation where it kind of just lined up perfectly. They wanted to add another editor, and I was like, hey, I have Heather right here. She's available. And they ended up deciding to do that. And, so sometimes those situations arise, and she was prepared for that, where I'd already kind of put it in her head, like, hey, I think this could be a possibility early on. So if you're looking to make that full-time jump, I think we can do it here, Mm-hmm. And for me, and probably for you, down the line stuff, you can read those situations, where those opportunities are better had on that type of project or whatever.
Right. No, totally, man. That's been good advice, definitely. I wanna move it along so we can get some questions in there. I know it's getting quite toasty, and I don't want also like the equipment to malfunction because it's getting hot. But I want to be respectful of your time. I know you got the kiddos. It's gonna be dinner time soon. So yeah, everyone, thanks again for being here. We're gonna open it up for some questions right now, and see what Garret Donnelly here has to say. Let's try this one from my boy George Lopez. Is there a set? Really? No, seriously. I think my camera's gone. Is there? Let me see. Wait, I think there it is. Sorry, my bad. I think I just spoke about the heat, and I think my camera just gave out. We'll have to do the plan B right now. Anyways, is there a set workflow for all assistants, or does it depend on each job? Like when like, let's say, like, if you get someone that you've never worked with.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you, I guess,
I mean, if I haven't worked with them, usually I try to go and meet with them beforehand, maybe grab lunch or something, and talk about that workflow. Like for me personally, it's like, oh, okay, well, here's typically how I have my bin set up, and what I expect is, you probably having the pages ready and a scene ready when when we start our day, and if you're not ready, then I can, I line up a Kim roll or a string out of the dailies, and I end up just watching it while you're building it in. But yeah, I think the workflow is sort of typical for every show. What's like your experience as like an assistant? I don't know if things have changed much since I was around.
No,
now, actually, yeah, you guys are getting it off a drive. You don't have to wait for a tape or anything.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm sorry, and I gotta say to our public, here, I think, the camera definitely did give out, but I think we're back. I think it overheated, honestly. There we are. Okay, we're back. No, I think that's the thing. Even working with you and like going on to say NOS4A2, like it's a different workflow, right? It's like we're doing the same. It's the same job, Like I mean, we're doing the same thing, but it's done differently, right? It's a different team. It's.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's like you kind of get used to. Like on NOS4A2, it was a show that had, like 5 VFX people on there. It was like a guy in Rhode Island and 2 in the office and a VFX assistant. I guess 4. So then, that was a different aspect for the workflow where now we have these extra people that are helping us track visual effects, which on like Narcos, I guess we did this last season, so that was nice. But some of previous years on other shows, it's been where you don't have a crew like that, so you're kind of having to read a script and find out in the meetings which visual effects are coming and that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's like meeting the new people and getting used to their workflow. A lot of times, when I was assistant, I would always try to ask the post producer like, what is your workflow? What is your schedule? And they're pretty open to it. And then I'll talk to maybe the post house or sound department on how they want their deliverables and stuff.
Nice. We have a question here from Jacobo. How do you handle mistakes from your assistant editor? How did you handle my mistakes, man?
What mistakes?
Yeah, exactly. You always had a smile. I think we're like, this guy's, we think he's all right.
No, it's one of those things where, like, no, I wouldn't blame the assistant for. I mean, it depends on a mistake. Like, if it's something happens on an output, typically that's a technical thing with the computer. So I probably would just say, oh, we had a technical issue. I don't know what it was, but we'll redeliver. But as far as like, I don't know, other mistakes, I don't think there's really any that would like people would really get upset about. I guess he would just most of the time I just say, oh yeah, my bad, I should have watched it. I should have checked it. It's also my job to check and review those things. And typically that's how we do it. Like one of the things we would get around that is when I would leave a locator note for you on the timeline. And it's like, hey, when you're done, let me know. So then we could go back to that locator and be like, oh yeah, no, this sounds good. Or, oh wait, we got to fix this part. I forgot about that. The biggest thing is just communication.
Absolutely.
It's like always communicating will avoid a lot of mistakes. But they're going to happen, and most people are pretty understanding if they're not looking to.
Exactly. Another here, a question from, I hope I say this correctly, Anissa. I apologize if I didn't say that correctly. What films, directors/editors have inspired your style? And this is, I guess, a question for both of us. But Garret, kind of have an idea, but I'd like to hear this.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's tough. It's like I have an eclectic taste, so I'm like always really interested. I mean, like Chungking Express is one of my favorite movies. Ooh. Yeah, I mean, like you watch that and visually it's just beautiful. The Limey is beautifully edited. But yeah, like Stephen Marion, Thelma, Shoemaker.
I mean, that's goes without saying, no?
Goodfellas is one of those movies I love. Just growing up, it was probably kind of inspiring to come out to LA in the first place. But right now, what I love is Euphoria. I think that is amazing.
My boy cuts that. Big shout out to Julio Perez.
Yeah. But yeah, I love that show.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I can't. I mean, Thelma goes without saying, right? I mean, like to me, that was I think early on, like watching, I mean, Scorsese in general was what got me into film. I gotta say,
Right. For sure.
but watching her work, I think, was brought my attention to editing.
Right.
And so yeah, definitely. I'm a big fan of Fleabag. It's just the overall
Yeah.
structure concept of that show.
Yeah, and pace and everything.
Pace. I mean, that is
kind of a little different. So.
And so we have Anissa said that. Yeah, you said it right. I got the name right. Yes. A couple more questions, and then we'll wrap it up. Let me see. Let me do this real quick. Oh man, how do you keep? See, Denise Shan, how do you keep track of sound design changes from all the different versions of cuts?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the locator thing has been very helpful for us. For me, it's because there's a lot of times where, yeah, I'm not there. I'm not sitting looking over your shoulder to see if you're doing all the sound design. But a lot of times we can just hear it when we watch it. Cut. I'm always taking notes on the different versions of cuts, and I always kind of date it and can kind of remember back, like, oh, it was around Friday when we did that really cool sound design thing for the guy under the water or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, the locators help because a lot of times we leave those on there and we'll switch it from like yellow to white, and that reminds me.
Cuddy Mac TV wants to know, what are the most important things that need to be on my editing reel when seeking employment as a good rookie? What do you like to see if someone came up to you and said, "Hey, Garret, check out," maybe has a chance to get a co-editor, build that trust, with an editor? What would you like to see?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it would just be having some nice scenes on there. For me, I don't think it's like a little like flashy reel. I probably wouldn't want to see. I would just like to see some compelling scenes and like your best work. I remember when I was trying to pitch for a co-edit on a show, I did that. I assembled like, here's 4 or 5 scenes that I had done that I think would really work well for that particular project. So if you're creating a reel, you probably want to sort of have an idea of what you're going for as far as genre. If it's like you're doing a suspense thing, well, it's not going to help if I get a scene of The Office or something, But yeah, so I don't know. I hope that helps.
For sure. We got mi amigo Massimo, all the way from Italy, from Milan, cool. I believe.
Nice.
He says, do you remember what was the scene that had the most revisions in your life? And also, he did ask, is a beard required to work as an editor in Hollywood?
Seriously. Well, we're on lockdown. It's just inevitable. We're all growing beards right now. Yeah. I had to stash actually.
Oh yeah. Why didn't you hold that look for the?
The scene where I got the most notes.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be. There's a lot of things. Like the most notes could be trying to find the right cue. So like we had a scene in Narcos in the finale season 1 where Doneto's being arrested, and the scene, as far as structure, it stayed pretty close to how we first assembled it, but the thing that changed was like 25 different music cues. So that was something that we just went over and over again because you didn't go through licensing, some don't get approved. We thought we had our favorite one, last minute we weren't able to do it, so we had to swap cues. So yeah, that's something that happens a lot. But then, like every other scene, it just depends. Like sometimes scenes just stick out as just not working. So it's one where it's like, okay, well, let's try adding an ADR line here. Oh wait, that doesn't work. Let's try and adjust this. Oh, let's add an ADR line here. Sometimes we might move part of a scene to the front of the scene, and that can help. So yeah, it's always. Every scene has its good and bad. It's a lot of times what it is the scene that I love the most is the one that gets like reworked all the time, yeah. And the one that I okay. scoots on by. So.
I get it. One question from Julia. She is my girl from Chula Vista.
Nice.
Shout out to Julia, listening all the way Chula Vista, my hometown, half of my hometown.
Sound effect there?
I got
your sound effects. So.
You're not hearing them. People are cheering for you right now. You're not hearing it though, probably. Her question is, do you have any advice for networking? Are there groups to be part of, or do you rely more on referrals to get to the next job? Any networking tips or any kind of job searching tips?
I think like you said, you're going to probably cover a lot of it in your program, but it is like emailing. Like I'll try to email editors that when I watch one of their episodes or movies and say, hey man, great job, and sometimes you can get a dialogue going and meet them for coffee or something, and sometimes not. It also depends. If you're in the union, that really helps, because then there's mixers, there's training events, and some of those training, like when I was first in the union, I would go to some of the training events of stuff that I already knew, but then I would meet a lot of people there, or sometimes like Lori Coleman was one of the mentors. She was there, and she was teaching how to do a dailies workflow, and then it became a little bit of like, oh, you already work on a show where you're doing dailies. How do you do it? So then it kind of became a part of the training program in a funny way, but it was a really cool experience. So yeah, I just think like reaching out, probably like LinkedIn, Facebook for some.
No. I have to tell a story about Garret real quick. I'm sorry.
No, you don't.
Just if you want to reach out to Garret, don't do it via Facebook. I'll just say that.
Gotta be honest. Message from my mom.
Yeah.
I'm like, damn it.
This is a very important question. I know some people want to hear this. My boy Sujit, if you're already an editor working, say, in unscripted, but you do have scripted experience, how do you go about getting jobs or making connections with other editors to bring you on as a co-editor? How do you, someone who, let's say, for example, is doing unscripted, but on the side has been doing probably or has some scripted experience, but now you want to go full-time into being scripted editor. How do you do that? That can be a little tricky.
I mean, it's tricky. It's one of the, I know buddies who have done it, and I guess, it'd probably be checking with them more, because I didn't have that experience. But I do know that, like, I'm not judgmental if you've got editing experience in scripted or unscripted. It doesn't matter to me. It would be more of a matter of, like, if we get along. And also, I mean, like I said, it's tough to say, hey, I want to get a co-edit. I'll only do this job if I get a co-edit. It's like, well, I can't guarantee that. There's other people who have to decide. It's something I'd like to be able to. It just doesn't happen that way. But yeah, I think it's always like reaching out to people and probably getting in the union if you're not already. That's a big step to do.
Right. Cool, man. Well, okay, no, it's getting hot. We got to go. But I need to ask just one really quick question. It's very important. From Charlie, what is his favorite salsa? Charlie wants to know. I know the answer.
Valentina, son. Black Label.
Man, I was going to say. It has to be Black Label. Or else.
For sure.
That was, we had, I think the bottle's probably still there at the Narcos Mexico offices.
Now.
Yeah.
Somebody's smashed it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
You don't Black Label just sit on the shelf.
No. Awesome, man. Well, hey, Garret, thank you very much, man. I can't tell you how appreciative I am of you and the fact that you did this on the first ever live stream Q&A with Hollywood Editing Mentor. Again, people are cheering. You can't hear it, dude, but I swear people are cheering for you right now. You just can't hear it. But thank you, man, dude. Awesome talking with you. And I hope that we can get back in the cutting room again soon.
Yeah, for sure, man. Thanks for inviting me to this, and I hope it was helpful for everybody. Oh, and check out NOS4A2, June 21st.
Woo!
by the first block cut by Curtis Thurber.
Oh yeah.
We bring up the second block. So.
That's an AMC, of course.
Yeah, AMC.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, thanks again. Appreciate you. Appreciate your time. Thanks a lot, dude. Enjoy your dinner. Go jump in the pool right now. Just go right there out and just go jump in, dude.
I have to.
Yeah. All right,
Thanks,
man.
Joaquin.
Hey, thank you, dude. All right, man. See you soon. Oop, and there goes my. Wait, sorry. Hold on. Stay there for a bit, because my camera just went out again. Don't move, because I just cut to you. Let me just get this back on, and then I'll let you go. This is Let me see. Okay, I'm back. All right, dude. Thank you, Garret. I'll see you next time. Awesome. Wow. I knew I was gonna have some issues here, but we're good now. All right, guys. Thank you very much. That was our first ever live stream here, Q&A on Hollywood Editing Mentor. Thanks again. Check out HollywoodEditingMentor.com for more information on the program. Like I said, I'm gonna be launching this have an official launch in the coming weeks. But I am. Yeah. All right, George. Yeah, exactly. I do need one. I'm gonna start this the official launch in a couple of weeks. I am meeting with people now. I am taking on mentees as we speak. Just go to HollywoodEditingMentor.com. Book a free 30-minute consultation. Sign up for the mailing list. There's an option to do that there. And also, don't forget to hit the subscribe button right here on this YouTube channel. Support HollywoodEditingMentor.com. We're doing good things here, helping out the post-production community. And thanks again. I'm gonna be doing these a lot more of these soon. So stay tuned. HollywoodEditingMentor.com. Thanks again, everyone. We'll see you next time. Peace.